Good evening, everyone. It's Carpo here. I just stepped outside for the evening to check out the weather, and looks like it's going to rain here, so hopefully it doesn't get too loud. I suppose I could make this another episode of Carpo After Dark, since it's been a while. Yeah, you know, I live in Portland area in Pacific Northwest, Oregon or Washington, if you're not familiar, in the United States, if you're not familiar with the states. And I love it out here, but somebody was asking me recently if it was a nice area, and I said, well, home prices are high, rent's high right now, but it is a nice place, nice schools, nice people. But everywhere you go, there are shitty people. It doesn't matter where you travel to, or what type of environment or social structure it is. There are jerks everywhere, and that's just how life is. This is why I guess it's frustrating when folks argue amongst each other about which country is the best. Back in the day it was folks arguing about which sports team is the best in their little town, and then towns, West Coast, East Coast competition within the U.S., and it's just ridiculous. But now that we have the internet, it came to the point where we're arguing about which country is the best, and we all know that there are problems everywhere. But to stay on track, people who are not honest, or people who are, I guess, the thieves would be in a completely different class from the ones who are just sociopaths, because thievery has many purposes and reasons why a person steals. But thieves and liars and charlatans are some huge problems in our society, and in my opinion, there's nothing worse, than a dishonest person. And people get taken constantly. I mean, they get they get fooled into taking loans they can't afford. The crooked car salesman wants to sell you a car they know you can't afford, and the credit card companies want to get you to run your credit card rates up higher and higher and higher, even if they know you can't afford it. And all the while, everybody's saying this is great and dandy, not realizing that the whole idea is to fail. The whole idea is that these companies are crooked, these people are crooked. They know that you're not going to be able to afford it. And here's where the problem is. The car salesman isn't necessarily trying to ruin your economy or your personal life. He's just trying to make a buck for himself, and that's kind of the crux of my point here. That everybody's trying to get their share. Everybody wants to have enough money to live, and everybody uses that as a justification for abusing others or taking more from another person than they should. I have complicated thoughts about a free market versus, socialism. I don't have some set in stone idea of what an economy should be like. I sure as hell don't know what the best type of government is. Although I always go back to Winston Churchill's quote, democracy is the worst form of government, except all the others that have been tried. Because he knew that democracy was far from perfect, but at the time it was all we had. And to this day, it's all we have still. There's no quick answer to the world's problems or to dishonest people or thieves, but I think that if each one of us is honest with ourselves, meaning that we call out people who are dishonest, we can make it a shameable offense. And I know that society knows that because of the way that we talk about bankers. We know that there's corruption at the level of banking. We know credit companies are out to get us. yet people don't really say much about it. I just want to leave you with this thought. In today's age, every single person who has a complaint can post their complaint online, whether it be a video about something or merely going to a blog or a review site. But if everyone reviewed not just the products they bought, not just the washing machine that didn't work out, but went and reviewed how they feel about their government and their society, and especially one another, then I think things might be able to change. I really think that when I say one another, I'm thinking of government, because I think of you and me as the government. Perhaps that may be naive in many people's eyes. I know they believe the government to be a separate entity from you and I, and I don't believe that, because I will not let the small elite, if you want to call them that, take my government and pretend like they own it, because that's not how it works. There are too many good people out there who want to see a world changed into something greater, something better. I feel like a lot of folks have just thrown in the towel and they've given in. They say, well, your society's doomed, your economy's doomed, you're doomed, everybody's doom and gloom, and I try to stick my neck out of the water and everybody just pushes it back down, but there's no way that I can be completely immersed because I am immersed, because I understand that these things are complicated. I mean, I no longer believe that there's going to be a worldwide collapse of everything, nor do I ever believe it'll be Mad Max styled, not for a long time, but rather that we will gradually decay in this country, and that our roads and infrastructure will fall apart, our water, our bridges. Any natural disaster could just throw us into chaos. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're overdue by, 50 years, I think, for a big earthquake, which happens every few hundred years here. And a large enough one could devastate Portland. I mean, and we might never come back from it. The whole Pacific Northwest, so many of these schools and gas plants and stuff are on fault lines. And that's just one thing, earthquakes. And so I'm not trying to move into doom and gloom here, but I'm saying that people realize that the economy is fragile, that the system's fragile. And I think that spawns a lot of bad behavior. A lot of people, a lot of the doom and gloomers, the ones that think, well, we're screwed anyway. We're already hanging on by a thread as an economy, but it depends on how you view an economy. Do you think of the government as having full control over you and full control over the country? Of course not. They're just a figurehead, an idea that's there in place that's supposed to keep things in order. But the reality is, in a crisis, in a nationwide crisis, say a blackout, sure, there would be rioting and looting and all that, but in the end, people take care of themselves and each other. It happens everywhere. I mean, every time there's a group that moves into an area, people tend to band together and either fight off the threat or protect themselves. While a lot of people are dumb and will wait for the government to bail them out, many of us are aware of these things and prepared. It's just that I'm sick of hearing that we have no chance and no choice, that we're doomed. I mean, what do you think? Pause while I take a drink of my butterscotch beer here. Delicious, by the way. I've never had that before, but it's pretty good. Sorry about my sniffle. I have the cold. That's winter for you. Spring. Namaste, peeps.